I guess we're live. No, pictures are moving. Let's see. Let's wait. Okay. Hello. Okay. Καλησπέρα. Good evening. This is Nick Papadopoulos. Ο Νίκος Παπαδόπουλος, ο διοικητής της Αμερικανικής Λεγιώνας. Tonight's event, virtual event, will be a little different. We will not do it in Greek only. We'll do it in English, in American English as well, and in Greek. Depends. We are very honored, very privileged to have with us tonight Elias Loukachos. That's the guy that all talk about him in Greece. Who is Kachos? Well, he's a businessman. He's a philanthropist. He loves Greece. He's a pride for us who have a man like Loukachos in the United States who further the Greek cause. And also, he was the president or the chairman of the parade committee for the Greek Independence Day parade that took place on April 26, 2026 in New York. And he's here with us tonight. I will make some, hello, Lou, you may want to say hello and then I'll make some comments.
Nico, thank you. I just want to say hello. Thank you for the American Legion Post GCO1 in Athens for the invitation and the opportunity to be with you this evening.
Okay, thank you, Lou. Now, I'm going to read some things I wrote about on the way of introduction about this Greek parade in New York. What is the Greek parade in New York? And the Greek Independence Day parade in New York City is the largest Greek parade outside of Greece, commemorates the 1821 Declaration of Greek Independence from the Ottoman Empire. It brings together the diaspora community in a vibrant celebration of Hellenic identity, culture, and achievements. While early celebrations and smaller parades were held in New York by Greek American communities, particularly in Queens and in Manhattan, as early as in the late 1890s, the official annual parade was established in 1938. It was organized by the Federation of Hellenic Societies of Greater New York, an organization that continues to spearhead the parade even now. In its early years, the parade marched through different parts of the city. Securing a permit to march down Fifth Avenue, as it does right now, the most prestigious route traditionally reserved for the city's largest ethnic groups, such as the Irish or the Italians, was a major milestone. The blue and white finally waved up Fifth Avenue for the first time in 1951. The route the parade takes runs along Fifth Avenue, generally stepping off around 64th Street and concluding near 79th Street. Although Greek Independence Day officially falls on March 25, as we know, the New York City parade is usually held in April. This allows the community to host a month-long series of cultural events leading up to the main day and enabled Greeks from across the United States to travel to New York and participate in the parade. These are some introductory comments. When I used to live in the United States, I used to go to the parade every year that it happened along Fifth Avenue, and most times it rained. This year, I understand the weather was good, and I recall first time I went was in the early 60s, and there was a lot of people watching it, so a lot of Greek organizations participating. I don't know, Lou will tell us about the number of people who watch this parade live, not on TV, right there on Fifth Avenue, and who marches. So without any further ado, I talked too much already. I will ask Loukachos to tell us about what he did. And really, I'm told by people who were there, it was a most very outstanding parade, the best in many, many years. And this, I think, is due to Lukatsos. So, Mr. Katsos, please, we listen to you.
Nico, thank you. And I'm just going to give an introduction, discuss a little bit about the parade, and then feel to ask any questions you have
Okay.
regarding the parade. I mean, whatever questions you have is fine with me. Nico, as always, it is a particular honor to speak before an organization that embodies both Hellenic and American ideals through its commitment to service, patriotism, and remembrance. It is especially meaningful that this discussion is taking place from Athens, the cradle of democracy, while we reflect upon an event that celebrates the enduring bonds between Hellas and the United States. The 2026 New York Greek Independence Day Parade was built around the historic theme that we called, and we created a logo for it, 205-250, the 205th anniversary of the Hellenic Revolution of 1821, and this year in particular, the 250th anniversary of the American Declaration of Independence. We commemorated also this year the 250th anniversary of the birth of Yannis Kapodistrias, who was born in 1776, the first governor of modern Hellas. And also the 200th anniversary of the Exodus of Messaloniki, and the 150th anniversary of the passing of Samuel Gridley Howe, often referred to as the Lafayette of the Greek Revolution. From the beginning, my goal when elected chairman of the parade was not simply to organize a parade. I wanted to elevate it in every aspect, historically, educationally, culturally, and organizationally and institutionally. For it was to become something, in my opinion, larger than a single day of celebration. It was a platform for education, culture, historical remembrance, civic engagement, and community unity, which we'll discuss later. Forming various committees, we sought to broaden participation in many meaningful ways. We encouraged the involvement of the Hellenic professional societies, cultural organizations, educational institutions, veterans groups, and younger generations in particular. At the same time, we wanted to recognize that the Hellenic Revolution was not solely a Hellenic story. It was an international cause that inspired individuals from many nations who came to Hellas, some who fought, sacrificed, and in some cases gave their lives for the cause of Hellenic freedom. All this was made publicly right from the beginning. For that reason, we emphasize the international and Philhellenic dimensions of the revolution. The parade was certainly a Hellenic parade, but it was also a celebration of all those peoples and nations who stood with Hellas in its struggle for independence. Equally important, this parade takes place in the United States, a nation whose founding ideals inspired many of the revolution itself of 1821, and whose citizens emphatically and enthusiastically supported the Hellenic cause during a period known in American history as the Greek fever of the 1820s. In that sense, the parade was not simply a Hellenic American event. It was a celebration of the enduring relationship between Hellas and America, and of the universal ideas of liberty, self-determination, democracy, and human dignity that unite all free peoples everywhere. One question guided us throughout the year. How do we make a parade that lasts a few hours on Fifth Avenue have an impact that lasts throughout the year? Our answer was simply education. Our commitment to education was not symbolic. Over the course of the year, we organized approximately 18 lectures, 10 of which I presented, and presentations and panel discussions examining various aspects of the Hellenic Revolution, Philhellenism, Hellenic American relations, Yannis Kapodistrias himself, the Exodus of Messaloniki. We discussed the Evzons, the Hellenic language, Samuel Gridley Howe, and importantly, the effects of the Hellenic Revolution on the American abolitionist movement, the American suffrage movement, and the American Civil War and beyond, and many other subjects connecting to the themes of the parade and the revolution itself. In addition, we organized approximately, Nico, 24 cultural, historical, social, and commemorative events leading to the parade itself, which included exhibitions, receptions, concerts, presentations, community gatherings, and special commemorative programs. Taken together, Nico, these educational and cultural initiatives transformed the parade from a single-day event into a months-long celebration of Hellenic history, Hellenic heritage, Hellenic culture, and particularly the enduring relationship of Hellas and America, certainly in this 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. A central theme of this effort was the structured weekly programming at the Stathakion Cultural Center, where every public meeting began with an educational presentation before we did the regular meeting. We believe that a parade without historical depth risks becoming symbolic without any substance at all. By reconnecting people with their history, we sought to give deeper meaning to the celebration itself. We also place special emphasis on the younger generations. The future of our community depends not simply on participation, but on creating a genuine sense of connection and ownership of the event. We found that when young people are presented with substance and meaning, they respond enthusiastically, and that's what they did this year. Another important goal was unity. We'll go into that a little bit later in terms of the federation, but the preparation for the parade itself became an exercise in bringing people together. Organizations and individuals who may have disagreed in the past were working side by side towards a common purpose. In many ways, that spirit of cooperation became one of the year's greatest accomplishments, and hopefully within the next week, we will see that accomplishment. Transparency was equally important. The selection of the parade's grand marshals was conducted through an open process, publicly discussed during the Federation's weekly meetings, with recommendations and nominations accepted through a formal process prior to final selection. The individual grand marshals was John Katsamatidis and Nicholas Tsakos. The organizational grand marshals was the Hellenic Initiative and Capital Link. And the honorary grand marshals, which were selected by Archbishop Epidophoros, included the Metropolitan of Kalavrita and General Alkiviadis Stefanis, civil administrator of Mount Athos. The participation of the Evzones added a profound sense of historical continuity and national pride, of course, as it does every year. One of the highlights of the year was the completely sold-out gala at the iconic Cipriani 42nd Street, where we presented specially commissioned 205, 250 Eagle Awards, symbolizing the shared ideals of the American Revolution of 1776. I'm sorry, the American Revolution of 1776, yeah, and the Hellenic Revolution of 1821. Liberty, courage, sacrifice, faith, national dignity, and freedom. We also honored acclaimed filmmaker Yannis Smaragdis for his contribution to Hellenic historical memory through his film The Governor, dedicated to Yannis Kapodistrias, as this was also the 250th anniversary of the birth of Kapodistrias, as we said, and recognized Governor Nektarios Farmakis of Western Greece in connection with the 200th anniversary of the exodus of Mesologi this year. The results exceeded our and most people's expectations. The parade was widely recognized, as you indicated, as one of the most successful and widely acclaimed in recent memory. Community participation reached levels not seen in years, and there was a renewed sense of pride and enthusiasm throughout the event. Recently, our parade committee, last week actually, presented the final financial report, which I believe is an important obligation of every chairman and every committee. Transparency and accountability are essential for any institution that seeks the trust of the community. The report reflected total revenues of approximately $539,000 and a projected surplus of more than $101,000. Perhaps even more significant was the context. The parade net financial results had declined from approximately 42,500 in 2022 to 32,000 in 2023 to 15,000 in 2024 and approximately 9,000 last year when when you take out the one major first time one-time donation, and that's excluded. The 2026 results represented significant reversal of one of the strongest financial performances in many years, even before when the organization of the Federation was one, which we'll discuss later. More importantly, this success was not dependent on any single donor or benefactor. It reflected broad participation by sponsors, organizations, volunteers, donors, and community members working together towards a common objective. If there is one lesson I can take away from this experience, Nico, it is that the success of the 2026 parade was not the accomplishment of any one individual. It was the product of countless people working together in a spirit of unity, purpose, and shared commitment to our heritage. Perhaps the most important lesson of 2026 is that the parade can be both a celebration and an educational institution, both a cultural event and a vehicle for historical memory. My hope is that the foundation established this year will continue to grow and evolve long after any individual chairman has completed his service. As someone born in Hellas and raised in America, the themes of this year's parade were especially meaningful to me personally. The Hellenic Revolution and the American Revolution are connected not only by chronology or 45-year distance, but by ideals. Both peoples fought for liberty, self-determination, and human dignity. Both peoples also fought against empires, one against the British Empire, the other one against the Ottoman Empire. Both drew inspiration from principles that continue to shape the modern world. And the American Revolution came from principles that were Hellenic to begin with, going back to the ancient Hellas. That is what the 250 theme was ultimately all about, the enduring relationship between Hellas and America and the timeless ideals that unite them. Thank you again, Nico, for the invitation. I look forward to discussing the journey that made the 2026 New York Greek Independence Day Parade such a more memorable and successful year.
Lou, thanks for this. I was a member of the Pan-Messenian Federation, and so in the 60s, I was involved in some way in the parade. And I remember we met at the Stathakion building and other buildings, and what I remember, we were fighting with each other, arguing and this and that. And we finally had a parade, and the theme was the Greek Independence War of 1821. After Cyprus, after the Cyprus situation came, the nature of the parade changed somewhat. The big issue was Cyprus.
Yes.
What happened in Cyprus, and we lost sight of the Greek Independence Day parade that was done for that. Of course, the Cyprus issue was a very important issue for us, and we had to adjust. Then we still kept fighting. Then we started having so-called Συλλόγους Φραγίδας, societies that actually didn't have any members. Then the church got involved in this. A lot of people got involved in this. Some things are political. Some people use their position as chairman of the parade for political reasons in the Greek community, and etc., etc. And then recently there were some efforts to change it, but really you change it. And sure, you said that not one person is responsible for the success of the parade. Well, sure, a lot of people worked, but they need a manager. And for the first time, the parade had a manager who was not politically motivated, who didn't think that people owed him the position. That's the other problem, because we do a lot of things in the Greek community, we think they owe us something. They don't owe you anything. You didn't feel that way. And the next thing is that, as you said, it was education as well. It was not just getting together to Armata, getting together to Lefkoma, how many people are going to go there, where we're going to have a dinner at the Plaza Hotel. They used to do that, and this and that. You had so many lectures, and I watched this thanks to Facebook. I could see that you were very active. You even came to Greece, as you recall, and you
Yes,
had,
that was actually my first event,
yeah,
in
yeah, right.
Athens, where
So
we talked about 205, 250, and bridging
of course.
revolutions, because that was an important thing this year.
And I remember a letter, reading a letter in Herald, Greek National Herald, or some other, or somebody asked you, how come you selected this the 2 years? And he thought it was just for the Greek Independence Day, but you explained it to him. I have lots of questions. One, one question I still don't understand. You are the chairman of the parade committee.
Yes.
And I see the first picture I see everybody else, lots of politicians and this and that, and I don't see Lukatos. What happened to you? Why weren't you at the front of the parade? Sorry, I will ask. I
Well,
hope you don't mind.
Nico, that's an interesting question that you asked. Listen, the parade, as I indicated, is not about one individual. It's
Yeah.
not about me. I'll just discuss briefly some of the things that you talked about because I think it's important. More recently, yes, and we did discuss Cyprus. As a matter of fact, we discussed Cyprus in a different way this year. I actually had a lecture a lecture regarding Cyprus and their participation in the Greek Revolution. For whatever reason, no one talks about Cyprus and what happened during the Greek Revolution. I took the opportunity to actually discuss that because I think it's very important for people to understand that the Cypriots are alienists just like everybody else. They participated in a revolution just like anybody else. They had deaths within their people who came to Greece to fight for the revolution like anybody else. And I'm not sure why people don't want to mention that. It is true that Cyprus has become, more of an issue recently. But the fact that Cyprus is an issue, and there's other issues, of course, does not change the fact of what this parade is all about. This parade is about the Hellenic Revolution. And unfortunately, last year, that's part of the reason why when people ask me to help, I help because last year, and I made a point of it, by the way, when I was asked last year to say some words at the breakfast before the parade. One thing that totally shocked me is you have an event at the gala, etc., an event regarding the Hellenic Revolution, and no one spoke about what the event was about. Okay, that it was about the Hellenic Revolution. As a matter of fact, during that breakfast, I went around and asked people, "What is this event all about? Why are we here?" And it was just shocking to me that no one could understand what the event was all about. Why were we there on Fifth Avenue? What were we marching for? What is this all about? So people have forgotten, okay, what the event is all about. And that's why also I made a special emphasis to have all these educational things for people to understand what this is all about. We have to understand that for some people like myself, the revolution, and many of the people who march, by the way, from these different societies, the revolution is personal. Is personal. In other words, I can go back and I can tell you which relatives from my family fought in the revolution, both on my mother's side and my father's side. There were dozens of them who fought in the revolution. We cannot forget who they were. We cannot forget the principles that they fought for. And it's very important for us to understand what this parade is all about. To your question about what happened to Lukatzos, it's the same thing that happened in 2022 when I was asked to help. When I was asked to help again, when you had the Federation had issues and they needed people to get together to have the parade. Just like that particular year, okay, I was involved in all the events. I was involved like in all these events very specifically and did a lot. But my job was done after that. After that, it didn't bother me whether I was showcased in any different way. I didn't need somebody to give me an award or something like that, which nobody did, but it doesn't matter. I don't mind giving people awards. In other words, I fulfilled what my obligation was. People, Nico, many people don't understand this, but usually people come to me only when they are in serious trouble. Okay,
Yeah.
whether it has to do with a parade or it has to do with other things that I don't want to discuss right now. And usually, what I do is I do that obligation, and then I back away and do what I'm going to do because I'm a
But
busy
you
person.
should be. You should be at front. What do you mean? What are you talking about? You are the chairman of the parade committee. No excuse. It's inexcusable to see all these same people I used to see every year on television, and some politicians from Greece as well who come and have a good time. And you, as the chairman, in the past, the chairman was in the front.
Nico,
This
it's
year you
okay.
were not in the
It's
front.
it's
Oh,
okay.
now
It's
it's
okay.
okay,
Let's
but
be let's be let's be frank about it, okay? Because
yes.
everybody knows about this. No one wanted me necessarily to succeed as the chairman. Okay, that's a known fact. That's a known
Okay,
fact.
okay,
Okay,
okay.
we can be blunt about it because many people, not no one, many people didn't want me to
Yeah,
succeed for
many
different
people.
reasons. But it doesn't matter. We succeeded. I accomplished the deed. That's all what that was of interest to me.
I even heard a rumor that you took this position and you did all that because you have ulterior motives, like you want to run for political office. And I said, look, Katsos is not crazy. Why should
I'm
you
not.
run for political
I'm not.
office?
I'm not. I'm not out of my mind, and
Yeah, of
everybody
course.
everybody knows because I'm pretty blunt about it. By the way,
Yes,
everybody
yes.
knows I don't care for politicians in general. I say it to their face. I don't care for politicians in general. So you picked the wrong person. They picked the wrong person to give that rumor. That rumor does not exist
Yeah,
for me.
people like to talk, and then it was interesting how the federation in New York, for those who don't know, they're split right down the middle. There are two parties, and there are two governments. How do you say that? Two board of directors or whatever it is. And at least you got them to agree, and both of them recommended you as the choice to be the parade chairman, correct?
Yeah, this was the first time it
Uh,
happened since they split.
yeah,
This was the first
yeah,
time that both
yeah.
sides independently asked me to be their chairman.
Right.
And that was a positive thing. That was a positive thing. Okay, because one of the things that I always believed in, and I made it public, obviously more than once, that part of my goal, if possible, was to see if we can bring the two sides together, because the two sides being split, having lawsuits and things of that nature, is not good for the community. It's not good for Hellenism. It's not good for the parade. And that was also something that the two sides didn't have any fights whatsoever with regards to the parade, but by working together, I think it was a positive thing that hopefully this year they will come together as they should.
When I was active in the parade, we had over 180 societies who were members of the federation. And they were divided along political lines, the right and the left. And the right was split, the democratic right and the fascist right. You know, there was the other right. Sorry for the expression, wrong word. Whatever, you know what I mean. And now I'm just wondering, how many societies are members? Do you know?
I think
Under 100? Yeah,
I don't, Nico, I don't have the exact number, but I think if you added both societies on either
yeah,
side that are members of each side, I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that
yeah.
I think there's over 100.
Over
But
100.
also, Nico, also a lot of societies, because of these issues over the last few years, they
Right,
haven't joined either side. Some people have stood in the sidelines, by the way,
right,
not being
right,
involved in any side, and in fact not
right.
being counted by any side.
Yeah.
And that also, the two sides have also hurt the parade to a great degree, because some people, even in this parade where the two sides got together, elected me as chairman, still organizations did not want to participate in this parade because of the issue. And regardless of all
Right.
that, we did great. But I believe if they unite together and they have the proper leadership,
Yes,
that they
right,
can go a long way. They can go a long way.
right. When I was there then, we tried to impress upon everybody that to be parading on Fifth Avenue, it's very important,
Yes.
and it's not a right to the Greek community. They can parade in the Bronx, Brooklyn, or whatever it is, and that a lot of people are like to take that Sunday to have their parade, and how important it is to have participation by other Greeks, because they watch the numbers. This year, how many do you think watched the parade on the side of Fifth Avenue?
I don't.
20,000?
How many?
About 20,000 or even less?
I think there must have been. I think there must have been more, Nico. I wasn't
More.
counting, but I think there must have been more. But here's what and part of my introduction was about this. I see this parade as a completely different thing, quite frankly, than most people see this parade as.
Okay.
This is not a Greek parade by Greeks in Greece. Okay, this is a Greek parade by Hellenes in America. It's a completely different scenario.
Okay.
And as I've mentioned more than once, that this parade is also an American parade. And what do I mean by that? What I meant by that was, in the 1820s, in this Greek fever period that we talked about, tens of thousands of people were involved in support of the Hellenic Revolution. Not the American government per se, and we don't have to go into that because that's a historical thing, but the people themselves supported the revolution. The American people supported the revolution, and their support of the revolution affected very strongly the American abolitionist movement and the women's suffrage movement, because for the first time, women left their kitchens and were involved in a cause that was outside of working in a kitchen. So the revolution itself is an important American event also. In addition, what we tried to do this year, Nico, is invite other nations to participate. Like, for example, when we had different events, I invited various council generals of the different nations. There were about 13 nations, Nico, that were part of, not that the nations themselves, because the nations themselves, in many regards, were not for the Greek Revolution, as we know. The people of these nations, however, were. This is like 13 different nations. Now, one of the things that I tried to do is make the start of that, reaching out to the council generals, start to bring everybody into the parade in New York. The New York Greek Independence Parade, as you said, is the largest Greek Independence Day parade in the world. It's also one of the largest events of the diaspora period in the world also. So for the audience who may not understand, it's an important event. Not only that, it's not only important for Hellenic Americans. You have all the Greek politicians who come into New York. This year was amazing. You had all types of people that came in.
Yeah, right.
And it was absolutely fantastic. It was great to see all these people from Mesologi. They had this major group from Mesologi that came in. We had people from Thessaly that came in. We had politicians from the MPs, etc., and people from the the Hellenic Parliament, etc., that came in. There was a lot. This was a very important parade in many ways, and for the audience to understand that this is important between us and America also, and the way we see each other. I understand that.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I understand that it doesn't get much coverage on the loss. I think
I was gonna ask you about that.
I think they're incorrect. I think they're incorrect. Okay, they don't understand. And part of the reason why there's no coverage is everybody wants money, Nico. I hate to say this. Everyone wants money to have coverage. How ridiculous is that? If you're a newspaper organization, why would you request money to come to do something that relates to news that's important to Hellenism, throughout the world? Why? I don't get it. I really don't get it.
But the government, in Greece, we pay every month in our electric bill. There is an amount we pay for the earth, etc. And frankly,
what happens to earth? What happened? What happened to earth?
No, frankly, they didn't cover this thing before.
They don't care, Nico. They don't care.
The newspapers, the magazines.
Exactly.
Everybody talks about the homogenia, and the Kedro.
Listen, Nico, as we know, in the last, many people do not understand or know anything about the homogenia.
Of course.
you have, and I hate to say this because it's a political thing, but I don't care because I don't
No,
care.
no,
I don't care for politicians anyway. But
it's all free now.
you have within the foreign ministry, minister of the diaspora, et cetera, et cetera. Come on, give me a break. Okay, give me a break. Like we're foreigners or something, like we're alien people. We're aliens. You must aliens. Then you must extend.
Yes. Well, they do that because in Greece,
they're afraid. They're afraid.
No. In Greece, you have to have a ministry. You have to have a division. You have to have something. Otherwise, nothing would happen. This is the Greek way, the Greek thinking. And I'm in the American Legion, right? And one of the things we cover is what is the situation within Kenya. And one government official said to me, "How come you discuss this issue? You're the American Legion." "Yes," I said, "but the members are Greeks, and the Greeks who live abroad. Why can't we discuss this?"
Yeah.
And I'm really disappointed that I know this year quite a few groups came to the parade.
A lot.
There's a high school in Thessaloniki. They call it the Greek, the Elliniko Collegio from Thessaloniki, and they came and they marched at the parade. They've been doing that for the last few years.
Yes.
And people came from Nafpaktos.
Absolutely,
came from Corfu, Kerkira, and other places.
Corfu, we had the the orchestra that had 80 pieces. And they came.
Why did they allow the band from Kerkira play the Greek and the American national anthem outside St. Nicholas? That's right.
Well, look.
Oh, listen, I've asked questions.
No, Nico, you can ask the question. Listen, it was an unfortunate thing that was not coordinated properly. Okay, okay. And I'll go into details. It doesn't bother me. What happened was I was coming. I was asked by the orchestra if they can be out there to play the national anthems. Okay, so. What happens around St. Nicholas was really not under my purview, quite frankly, because it's handled more by the Archdiocese. But so I called the people who do the event at Bowling Green and said to them, "Listen, the orchestra wants to go, and have the national anthems outside of St. Nicholas before they come into Bowling Green and play the national anthems when they raise the flags." Okay, it was so they said yes. So I said to the people, "Okay, yeah, you go play the national anthem." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was my mistake. I should have asked more details of the Archdiocese. Okay, so when the day of the event, I'm on the subway coming down to go to St. Nicholas, and then I get a phone call coming in from one of the priests that's involved there. I was on a train, so I couldn't answer. So I said, "I'm coming towards St. Nicholas, and I'll go there." When I got to St. Nicholas, there was a big fight. There was a big fight between, I guess, the governor of the Ionian Islands and the people around the orchestra, etc., because they were assembled outside the church to play the national anthems when the service was finished. Right. Then, unfortunately, people started yelling at me, from the other side. And unfortunately, I don't respond well to people yelling at me. But in terms of they said, "Well, you need a permit, etc., to be there." Yeah. Understand, Nico, and they're correct, okay? Because the church is the church, and outside of the church is the dormitory authority. But Nico, there was all types of police there. There was all types of people in fustanelas, etc. There was a band there, etc. Would anybody have stopped anybody playing the national anthem of Hellas and America?
America.
Okay, but unfortunately, it led to a confrontation, which I don't want to go into details about it because it was pretty nasty. But that's okay. I'll blame myself. Yeah, it was nasty. It was nasty.
I heard from some people from Ionian area, and they were really pissed off, excuse my French, because they spent a lot of money to come there, and then they wouldn't allow them to play the Greek national anthem. They didn't care about the American national anthem, but the Greek national anthem. And they felt very insulted. And I tried very hard to explain to them that it's a problem of coordination, maybe permits and as you say.
Listen, it was a problem of coordination, of
Yeah,
course,
yeah.
but basically, Nico, it was a problem of egos. Egos.
Yeah,
No one would have stopped anybody from playing the national anthem of
of
Greece
course.
or the national anthem of America. Absolutely not. Especially when everybody was there, including police, etc. Nobody was going to stop anybody. But anyway, that's a separate issue.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but the Evzons that you write in. I saw an article, the weekend edition of the Ethnikos Kirikas, where you talk about the accounting review of the events, and you told us you showed a profit of $101,000, and you talked about the Evzons, and towards the end of the article that was reported by the journalist, Mr. Anastasatos, he mentions something you saying that the Evzons should not be handled by individuals or individual societies. It should be handled differently. What happened there? Why do you have to say this?
Well, Nico, this is not new. Okay, the question. I was answering a question at the end after I made my presentation. I didn't mention the Evzons at all. Okay. What happened was at the end I say, are there any questions? Okay, so people, and this is not the first time, by the way, that people have asked the same question. They asked a question about the Evzons. Well, that the Evzons should be under the federation. This is a big deal. Okay, this is a big deal because when they had the fight originally in 2022, and they had the split, the Evzons, who have been part of the parade through the federation from 1949, okay, it became a problem, and the archdiocese had to get involved with bringing the Evzons in 2022. Since the split of the federation, it's been funneled through the archdiocese to control the Evzons. This is something that the federation has not wanted ever. And now that the parties are coming together, it's becoming a big deal. But what also became a big deal was how the Evzons were treated, or what happened in New York, for example, where they were used as props by some of the people who had brought them in. In other words, have them at restaurants, etc., where the money that was collected goes to another organization. That's something that everybody in the federation was angry about. As the chairman, everybody kept bringing it up. So when they asked the question, I gave the answer. I'm sure a lot of people don't like the answer, but if they get together, the Evzons should be under the federation and what they want.
Right. Before I have a few more questions.
Please.
I see somebody, Christos Malaspinas, I see his name. If he wants to ask a question, he should unmute himself. He's unmuted.
Yes.
Χριστό.
Εδώ είμαι.
Τον κύριο Κάτσο τον ξέρεις βέβαια, έτσι.
Yes, of course.
Ο Χρήστος, να πω κάτι για σένα Χρήστο. Ο Χρήστος Μαλασπίνας είναι ο εκδότης, ιδιοκτήτης, μάνατζερ του Pan Hellenic Post. Είναι μια ιντερνετική εφημερίδα που καλύπτει τα θέματα της ομογένειας, των ομογενών κτλ. Είναι αντικειμενικός 14 χρόνια νομίζω τώρα εδώ στην Αθήνα. Ήταν πρόσωπος representative του Εθνικού Κήρυκα στην Αθήνα. Δούλεψε στη Νέα Υόρκη με τον Εθνικό Κήρυκα και με την πρωινή. Ξέρει και έχει πάει σε πολλές παράτες που λένε οι Έλληνες. Τα έχει δει και ίσως έχει κάτι να ρωτήσει. Χρήστο, please. Στα ελληνικά, σε όποια γλώσσα δεν θα μιλήσεις. Ξέρουμε πολλές γλώσσες εμείς.
Θα ξεκινήσω με μια καλοσυνάτη παρατήρηση. Και θέλω να πω ότι όσοι λέμε είμαστε Έλληνες, πρέπει να μιλάμε και λίγα ελληνικά. Αλλιώς, τι να πω. Εκείνο που από όλη τη συζήτηση εγώ κατάλαβα είναι ότι εάν συνεχίσει η Ομοσπονδία, και αυτό είναι το ερώτημά μου, να είναι διχασμένη και να επιμελείται την παρέλαση η Επιτροπή που έχει οριστεί από τον Αρχιεπίσκοπο κύριο Ελπιδοφόρο, θα καταντήσει να είναι μια εθνική εορτή πάντα, αλλά δεν είναι σωστό εθνική εορτή να την επιμελείται η Αρχιεπισκοπή, όποια Αρχιεπισκοπή, Αμερικής, Αυστραλίας. Οι Αρχιεπισκοποί έχουν να κάνουν πνευματικό έργο, όχι εθνικό. Το εθνικό έργο ανήκει στις οργανώσεις και θα ήθελα τη γνώμη του κυρίου Κάτσου πάνω σε αυτό το θέμα. Ευχαριστώ.
Thank you. My answer will be in English. Sorry, I'm not going to answer in Greek. But let me say the following: the reason why the Archdiocese got involved to begin with in 2022 had to do with the fact that the two sides could not get together, and we discussed the importance of the parade down Fifth Avenue. We did not want to lose the ability to go down Fifth Avenue for the parade. So the Archdiocese brought the two sides together, and also brought together John Katsamatidis, myself, and George Venizelos to help with having the parade in 2022. So the influence of the Archdiocese and involvement of the Archdiocese started because of the split. And it's been taking place over the last few years, so from 2022 to this year. But what was different about this year was it was the only year that the two sides agreed who the chairman would be, not before. 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, the Archdiocese was involved in the selection. This particular year, both sides chose me as the chairman. A lot of people didn't like that fact. A lot of people didn't want me to even go to the meetings where I would be chosen as the chairman by both sides. But I can say that this year we made a difference in terms of how the parade was conducted. I expect in a week or so, hopefully, that the Federation will get together and be one organization, not two organizations, and then be able to conduct the parade as it's been conducted since 1938. Okay, since 1938. So that's what I have to say. And historically, it was always a civil organization that had the parade. The first parade in New York was in 1893. Okay, and that again was by civil organizations. As a matter of fact, it was by the person who used to run the Atlantida. You remember the Atlantida, okay, because you've been around many years. The owner of the Atlantida started the first parade actually in New York. So the Federation has the only legal right to the parade in New York. So that's important.
Χριστό, τι λες, θέλεις να πεις κάτι συνέχεια σε αυτό? Τώρα έχεις τον κύριο Κάτσο, ρώτησέ τον.
Ελπίζω να έχει η Ομοσπονδία σύντομα να λύσει τα προβλήματά της, γιατί είναι εθνικό, όχι έγκλημα, είναι εθνικό λάθος να έχουμε μία Ομοσπονδία χωρισμένη στα δύο, αν όχι και στα τρία, και επομένως, όπως είπε ο κύριος Κάτσος, αυτοδικαίως να πάρει την παρέλαση, γιατί η παρέλαση είναι της Ομοσπονδίας, είναι πολιτικής οργάνωσης και εκεί πρέπει να μείνει. Τώρα, εγώ ήθελα να κάνω ακόμα μία παρατήρηση. Κύριε Κάτσο, σέβομαι αυτό που λέτε και γι' αυτό είπα η καλοσυνάτη η παρατήρησή μου. Ξέρω μιλάτε ελληνικά, δεν τα μιλάτε άψογα, αλλά είναι υπέρ και είναι τιμή να τα μιλάτε όπως μπορείτε. Και εμείς θα καταλάβουμε και εμείς θα δείξουμε κατανόηση. Πρέπει, εάν οι ομογενείς μας και οι νέες γενιές, αν δεν μάθουν 10 λέξεις ελληνικές να τις λένε, θα χάσουμε την ομογένεια, θα χάσουμε την επαφή με την Ελλάδα. Δεν θα μας μείνει τίποτε και αυτό θα είναι ένα άλλο εθνικό τεράστιο λάθος.
Χριστό, εγώ ζήτησα από τον κύριο Κάτσο να μιλήσει στα αγγλικά, Γιατί είναι πολλές λέξεις που εντάξει, μιλάει καλά ελληνικά, καλύτερα από πολλούς
Ναι.
άλλους που εσύ και εγώ ξέρουμε.
Μιλάει καλά, αυτό ακριβώς.
No, δεν
μιλάει,
μιλάω
ναι.
τόσο καλά. Δεν μιλάω.
Μιλάς πολύ καλά.
Συγγνώμη, πρέπει να απαντήσω σε αυτό που είπες. Πρέπει να απαντήσω σε αυτό που είπες.
Ναι.
Εγώ, πρώτα, εγώ πιστεύω μπορεί στη διασπορά να μιλάνε ελληνικά στο μέλλον, περισσότερα που μιλάνε στην Ελλάδα στο μέλλον τα ελληνικά, γιατί σιγά σιγά δεν ξέρω πόσοι Έλληνες θα είναι στην Ελλάδα. Αλλά ξέχασε αυτό το θέμα. Η αλήθεια είναι ότι, όπως ξέρεις εσύ, ότι αν κάποιος δεν ξέρει τα ελληνικά πολύ καλά και αν είναι με άλλους όπως μιλάμε σήμερα και δεν τα λέει τα ελληνικά όπως πρέπει να τα λέει, θα είναι από πίσω άλλοι που θα λένε τι άνθρωπος είναι αυτός, πώς δεν ξέρει την ελληνική γλώσσα και όλα αυτά τα πράγματα. Η αλήθεια είναι ότι εγώ είμαι εδώ 70 χρόνια στην Αμερική. Εγώ μιλάω τα εγγλέζικα καλύτερα από τα ελληνικά. Εγώ θέλω να εξηγήσω κάτι πράγματα στα ελληνικά που δεν μπορώ να τα εξηγήσω. Πρέπει να τα πω στα εγγλέζικα. Γι' αυτό μιλάω εγγλέζικα. Όχι που δεν μιλάω ελληνικά. Όχι που άλλοι στην Αμερική και στα ξένα κράτη θα ξεχάσουν τη γλώσσα. Όπως λέω εγώ και στην Ελλάδα την ίδια, οι ίδιοι οι Έλληνες σιγά σιγά ξεχνάνε τη γλώσσα. Έτσι πιστεύω εγώ.
Ναι, ο κύριος Κάτσος πραγματικά δεν θέλω τώρα να...
Δεν πειράζει, μένα μ' αρέσει να μιλάμε έτσι.
Όχι,
Μ' αρέσει αυτά.
Κύριε Παπαδόπουλε, μπράβο, μίλησε ελληνικά και μίλησε καλά ελληνικά.
Εξαιρετικά ελληνικά.
Δεν είναι εξαιρετικά, σταμάτα.
Εγώ μακάρι...
Τα είδηση, βγάλαμε δήλωση του κυρίου Κάτσου στην ελληνική γλώσσα.
Ο Κάτσος, να σου πω κάτι, ο Κάτσος ξέρει ποιος είναι. Τα παιδιά του Κάτσου ξέρουν ποιοι είναι, τα γόνια του Κάτσου.
Να ξέρουν και οι Έλληνες ποιος είστε, να ξέρουν και οι ομογενείς ποιος είστε. Αυτό έχει σημασία.
Αυτό έχει σημασία.
Όλοι που ξέρουν.
Θέλω να κάνω μια ακόμα παρέμβαση.
Χρήστο, φτιάξε την εικόνα, φαίνεται μόνο η μύτη σου και πάνω. Για φτιάξε έτσι να σε βλέπουμε όλοι. Είσαι ωραίος άντρας.
Εγώ νόμιζα θέλετε να με κρύψετε.
Όχι,
σε θέλουμε, μας αρέσει.
Θα με υποστείτε. Θέλω να επισημάνω ένα πράγμα. Τα αγγλικά μου εμένα δεν είναι καλά, τόσο καλά όσο τα δικά σας, γι' αυτό μιλώ ελληνικά. Και ειλικρινά πιστεύω μία λέξη να μάθει ένας ομογενής που δεν ξέρει ελληνικά είναι κέρδος αυτό. Και για την Ελλάδα και για τον ομογενή, τέλος πάντων. Θέλω να επισημάνω τον κίνδυνο, έτσι όπως είναι η Ομοσπονδία χωρισμένη στα δύο, σε λίγο να χάσουμε την πέμπτη λεωφόρο. Ξέρω καλά ότι είναι πολλές χώρες οι οποίες αγωνίζονται για να πάρουν θέση στην πέμπτη λεωφόρο και φοβάμαι ότι αν εμείς δώσουμε μία αφορμή ίσως και να τη χάσουμε και αυτό θα είναι επίσης εθνικό λάθος. Δεν πρέπει η ελληνική παρέλαση, η ομογενειακή παρέλαση, Ελλάς ομογένεια είναι ένα, δεν πρέπει να χάσει την πέμπτη λεωφόρο. Νομίζω ο κύριος Κάτσος θα συμφωνήσει σε αυτό.
Συμφωνώ με αυτό. Γι' αυτό, όπως είπα, στο 2022, πώς μπλάξανε και άλλοι μέσα στην παράλαση, να μην χάσουμε το 5 λεωφόρο. Έτσι έγινε. Δεν θα τη χάσουμε γιατί πάντοτε θα υπάρχουν άνθρωποι που θα βοηθήσουν να κάνουμε την παρέλαση. Και όπως είπα, πιστεύω τούτο χρόνο να σμίξουν ξανά και να έχουμε μία ομοσπονδία. Εύχομαι.
We'll see. Θα δούμε. Να ρωτήσω, πάμε στα αγγλικά πάλι. Let me ask you, are you going to run again? Are you going to run the parade next year? Have they talked to you about it?
No one has talked to me about it. But don't forget, Nico, as I indicated earlier, I'm a person that people ask to do something because they're in serious trouble.
Have they asked you?
Yeah.
They haven't asked you yet?
Yeah. No, because they're in serious trouble. So my interest is not to be there in a prolonged way. Okay, my interest
No.
was just to go there, make sure that I took care of everything. And then, like you said, why didn't you appear at the end? Because it was time for me to step back. Okay. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
that's the way I operate. Whether it was at St. Nicholas when they needed help, after I did what I did, I backed away. Whether it was in 2022, I did what I did and backed away. Whatever anybody asked me to do, I do what I do, and I back away. As you know, Nico, I'm involved in many things. I'm
Of
involved
course
in
you are. Of course you are. And you have the MCAP, which is an excellent organization that does a lot of these events in the U.S. and in Greece, you know. And you had a good one just past Sunday.
yeah.
But you know, the way you talk like a politician, and you talk like, I think they're going to ask you, because they don't ask you to run it one more time, because you know it takes a couple of years for a new idea to take shape. So you have to run it for a couple of years, you know.
Nico,
Have
it's not. I never volunteer.
obligation.
Nico, I never volunteer for anything. I never volunteer for anything.
That's what they said in the U.S. Army. Don't volunteer.
No, I'm not a volunteer.
I volunteered in the U.S. Army, you know, and they looked at me and they said,
Listen,
I was an idiot.
Nico,
Yes.
η μητέρα μου έλεγε sometimes
No.
when I annoyed her,
Right.
μου έχεις ψήσει το ψάρι, μου έχεις
Σακίλι.
ψήσει το ψάρι, ναι, στα χείλη, exactly. So, μου έχουν ψήσει και αυτοί λίγο, όχι αυτοί που ήταν στο Federation, πολλοί άλλοι μου έχουν ψήσει το ψάρι στο χείλη μου. So I'm not necessarily interested to be involved, not in the Federation, but with other nonsenses that takes place, unfortunately.
Since you know, I was talking to, I won't refer the name, but maybe he'll know who I'm talking about the possibility of you becoming the next president of the Federation.
No, it can't happen.
Let me finish. You can join a society, a local society. That's not a problem, you know. Greeks take care of everything. And then, if the vote is very close, and we'll have another split again. And I think a guy like you, who is neutral, who is with nobody, and who's for everybody and for nobody, that'd be the right person to. Have you thought about that? Have they discussed this with you?
No, of course not. Nico, let me say something. That the Federation, like all organizations, they have bylaws. They have bylaws.
Of course.
Okay. Of course. You cannot be a president, etc., unless you've served X amount of years on a board, etc., etc. I have not been a part of the Federation. I have not served on the board. So there's no way legally that people can agree to put me up as president of an organization.
Right, but you know, no, you're not 100% correct. But there is another unwritten law that says, "Mi parchodos hypocrisiou." Anybody who is a member can be the president. HEPA has that, by the way, you know. It's an American concept.
I hate to say this. HEPA has that, but HEPA has. They know exactly who's going to be president year after year after year. They can say whatever they want in the bylaws.
Yeah, that's okay.
Επιτρέψτε μου μια παρέμβαση. Θέλω να ρωτήσω τον κύριο Κάτσο. Νομίζετε ότι θα είναι χρήσιμο να έχουμε μία επαναλειτουργία του Συμβουλίου Απόδημου Ελληνισμού, του ΣΑΕ? Θα είναι χρήσιμο αυτό για την ομογένεια και μήπως πρέπει να πιέσουμε την ελληνική πολιτεία προς την κατεύθυνση αυτή? Ποια είναι η άποψή σας?
Listen, you know about the history of SAEB better than I do, okay? It all depends, like anything else. It depends on who is in the organization, who the leadership is. That's what it depends on. Unfortunately, it falls back into individuals, egos, politics, etc., etc. So I'm not sure it would be successful. I have to be honest with you.
Thank you.
It was politicized. It's a good idea, and it's in the constitution, right? The Greek constitution. But unfortunately, when it started, it went the wrong way, you know. It went the wrong way when a certain person died who spent a lot of his money, And the problem is the money. Who is funding this? And well, Christos knows a lot about Sayan. Maybe we'll have another session about Sayan.
Well, I did something on Sayer
Yeah.
a few years
Yeah.
ago, Nico. I
Okay,
had a whole
right.
discussion about this, and it was entitled
Okay.
Who represents the Hellenic
Sayan.
diaspora? It was a very interesting conversation, and we may want to do it again. I think the collaboration between people in Hellas and people in the diaspora is very important. Not the politicians. I don't think the politicians understand what's taking place, and quite frankly, in my opinion, many of them don't represent the people. So politicians who here claim they represent whoever, they don't represent many people. I think the same thing is true in Hellas, but that's a separate issue. And I don't like to get involved in politics. But let me say one thing. Let me talk about the Federation for 1 second. The Federation, if it was united, and I mentioned this, by the way, I mentioned this in my final closing thing when we were talking about the economics. If the Federation was united and they had the appropriate leadership, okay, the Federation itself can be a major catalyst within Hellenism in the diaspora. The money that's been accumulated, and there's over 300,000, let's say, based on the parades, and there's another 200,000 or 300,000 that has been stopped, let's say, by the courts. Okay, you have 500,000-600,000. There's no reason why the Stathakion, because the Stathakion has the ability to add another floor or two on top of it, Nico. There's no reason why the Stathakion should not invest, the Federation with leadership should not invest in the Stathakion, build a bigger building, okay, add to the floors of the building, and make that the cultural center of Hellenism in New York. Right now, there is no place in New York where we have the ability to have organizations, to have meetings, to have concerts and things of that nature. It could be a gold mine for Hellenism within New York and as a catalyst for Hellenism in the United States of America, in my opinion. But they need, obviously, uniting and the leadership. They have to understand. And what was demonstrated, Nico, what was demonstrated this year with all the presentations that we did, with all the events that we did, that place could be an amazing bridge towards expanding Hellenism in the United States of America.
Correct. Of course. That's why some people, they think you would be a very good president because you have ideas and you talked about building 2 more stories and so that's why.
Nico, there are things missing within organizations, as you know.
Yes.
We don't have the appropriate leadership. There's no doubt about that. We don't have the appropriate leadership.
That's
the problem.
That's the big problem.
Μιλάς καλά αγγλικά, Χρήστο?
Όχι, δεν μιλάω.
Βλέπεις, σε φέραμε έξω. Τώρα τι ακούμε να μιλάς και αγγλέζικα. Μπράβο.
Μιλάς αγγλικά εσύ. Λοιπόν, εγώ δεν έχω άλλες ερωτήσεις. Είχα κι άλλες, αλλά νομίζω δεν θέλω να κουράσω τον κόσμο.
Δεν πειράζει, ό,τι
Και
θες.
ο Λου, ας πούμε, είναι...
Εγώ δεν κουράζομαι. Μ' αρέσουν αυτά τα πράγματα, μιλάμε για αυτά τα θέματα.
Κάποτε, Χρήστο, πρέπει να κάνουμε an event για τον Λου, γιατί έχει τόσα πράγματα. Είναι και στο Διοικητικό Συμβούλιο μιας οργάνωσης στο Χάρλεμ, είναι εδώ, είναι εκεί.
Έχω παρακολουθήσει αρκετά.
Είναι λίγοι Έλληνες στην Αμερική κάνουν αυτά που κάνει ο Λουκάτσος. Τώρα μην με παρεξηγήσει κανείς ότι εγώ, όπως λέμε σαν γλύφω του Λουκάτσος, όχι, they don't. He has a lot of stuff and, the facts speak for each other, for alone. There's no problem. Όπου ρωτήσεις, όλοι όταν τους λέω, με ρωτάνε, ξέρεις τον Κάτσο, Well, no, it depends who asks. I said, no, I don't know him. Or I know him because they all want to ask something. And Louis is such a person, and he'd be willing to help, of course. And I hope he's helping the American Legion. I thank him very much. And of course, tonight, and he, from time to time, he joins as a speaker in one of our events. But, we don't have the organization that he has at the EMBCA. Tell us a few words before we finish about the EMBCA, because some people, they don't know that organization,
All right.
unfortunately.
Well, the EMBCA really stands for the East Mediterranean Business Culture Alliance. And what we've done is have different events. Some of them are business events, some of them are cultural events. In the past, we used to have our events live, Nico. They used to be live. We used to do them live. But when COVID hit, we decided to do everything virtually. And we have concerts. We've had, for example, like you said, you mentioned Harlem. So we've had Hellenic Rebetika, Harlem blues concerts with the Harlem community. We've had concerts with the Turkus. We had a Hellenic Turkish concert. So we do things that are different. Like, for example, later in the month, we're going to do an event that's going to talk about Penelope. Okay, Penelope. So there's Penelope. So we're going to talk to the daughters of Penelope. We'll discuss it with them, and we'll discuss with the history of Penelope herself. Penelope, of course, was a princess of Laconia. She was actually a cousin of Helen of Troy. Right. So one of the things that we're going to discuss is the project that they want to build a statue for Penelope and put it in Sparti. Yes, I think you'll like this, Nico.
Yeah, well, at the meeting they just had in Kefalonia, they are discussing where they're going to have their next meeting next year, and the people from Sparta asked to take place in Sparti, and they told the people that Penelope was a Spartan princess, and of course they don't know about it. They think she's from Ithaca, whatever it is. Yeah. But they decided to have the event in Athens. And I know they're trying to fix a statue for Penelope. It'll be very nice.
Yeah. So Nico, we have events that relate to different parts of Greece. We have events that relate to Mount Athos, for example. We have events relating to to Hagia Sophia and all the issues around that. St. Catherine, the same thing. At Sinai. So we have a lot of different types of events that most organizations do not have. And what we like to do is have professors and other people on different types of topics. Right. And we're going to continue to do that.
How about the Greek press in the United States? Have you had an event on that? There's listen. What's happening now? How is it?
Well, you should have the press to have a discussion with the press, with regards to that. The reality is, όπως είπαν για τις εφημερίδες, etc. για τα ελληνικά, η αλήθεια είναι ότι πολλοί δεν διαβάζουν τα ελληνικά, όπως είπατε νωρίτερα. Όχι μόνο αυτό, είναι πολλοί νέοι που αυτά τα νέα δεν είναι νέα για αυτούς. Αν είναι να μελάς για πράγματα που μπορούν να διαβάσουν στις εφημερίδες, στις αμερικάνικες, γιατί να το διαβάσουν στα ελληνικά. Όχι μόνο αυτό, πολλές φορές μόνο μιλάνε για εκκλησίες, μόνο μιλάνε για τη ΕΧΕΠΑ, μόνο μιλάνε για πού πήγανε, τι φάγανε, ποιος, who got the award. Ο κόσμος δεν θέλει να βλέπει αυτά τα πράγματα, θέλει να βλέπουν κάτι διαφορετικό. Είναι δύσκολο τώρα για τις εφημερίδες, τις ελληνικές εφημερίδες, αλλά πιστεύω ότι αν αρχινάνε και μιλάνε για τα θέματα που ο κόσμος θέλει να γράφουν, πιστεύω ότι θα πάνε πίσω.
Εγώ σκεπτόμουν πώς θα μπορούν, I was thinking how from the States they would take it upon themselves to help press activities in Greece that talk about the homogenia. Because the Greek government doesn't provide any help to that media. And the few ones that exist, that operate, if they stop operating, then people in Greece, they will know nothing about the homogenia. Okay, so the Greek organizations, it seems to me, they should promote the development and the existence of Greek language press in Greece that talks about the homogenia, not just the United States, all over the world. That's just a thought of mine,
Listen, there used to be, Nico, a closer bond between the Hellenic government and the diaspora. There was a much closer bond in the past than exists today. The Greek government, I believe, to a certain degree, even though they talk about the homogenia, they basically abandoned the homogenia as far as some of us believe in the United States of America. Okay, they have not done the proper thing. They have not done the proper coordination between between us. And it's an unfortunate thing because the Omogenia, when you go back into history, whether it's the Greek Revolution, where the Omogenia played a significant part, and we had presentations, obviously, about the Omogenia, because a lot of people were from the Omogenia. We talk about Kolokotronis. Where was Kolokotronis for a number of years? Okay, he was in the Ionian Islands. That was the diaspora. That was the diaspora. That was,
yes.
Okay, so when we talk about Rigas Fereos, when we talk about Solomos, when we talk about all these people, where do these people come from? When you look at the generals and colonels and everybody who fought in the revolution, see where they came from. Okay, and you'll get an understanding that they came from another place and came into the Peloponnesus and the Moria when the revolution broke out. There's a lot of things that people don't understand. The other thing, Nico, which is very important, and they're stupid, by the way, they don't understand how important it is for them to understand the linkage between their loss itself and America. They don't understand the soft power that exists within the diaspora in America, in Australia, and other countries. They don't understand how it could help Elada. They don't get it. They don't get it. They're too busy looking at their own particular politics. And like I said, in my opinion, they've abandoned the Omogenia. And to a certain degree, the Omogenia has abandoned them also.
There is an organization of Greek parliamentarians who live in the United States, Australia, and who have an organization, and supposedly they promote Greek, American, Greek, Australian, Greek this, Greek that, Canada. Right, you know about that.
Yes, well, Nico, I've had 3 panel discussions with that organization. We talk about different things, what's happening in their particular states, what are they doing with Greece and this and that. A lot of these, it has to be expanded. It has to be. There has to be more communication. Unfortunately, politicians from the last come here. They speak to certain people, think that they represent the diaspora. Okay, they go and they talk to them. It's like there's no civic edginess within America or Australia or anybody else. They're making a big mistake. Right. They're making a big mistake. Yeah. My opinion.
Well,
these are my opinions, of course.
Of course. No. Χρήστο, θέλεις να πεις κάτι για να κλείσουμε απόψε? Τα είπαμε.
Ήταν πολλά και ενδιαφέροντα πράγματα.
Right.
Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. Χάρηκα.
Καλά.
Και θα τελειώσω με λίγα ελληνικά.
Νύχτα, βέβαια.
Εμένα μ' αρέσει μόλις λένε γιατί δεν μιλάς ελληνικά.
Έτσι.
Εμένα μ' αρέσει αυτό. Γιατί πρέπει να εξηγήσω. Γιατί εγώ ξέρω μόλις ήμουν πολύ μικρός. Πήγα να μιλήσω ελληνικά σε κάποιον και αυτός έλεγε στον πατέρα μου τι ελληνικά ξέρει αυτός. Από μικρό παιδί άκουγα τέτοια πράγματα και όχι μόνο εγώ, ήταν και άλλοι Έλληνες. Και να σου πω κάτι, είναι πολλοί Έλληνες στην Αμερική που δεν ξέρουν τα ελληνικά από αυτά τα θέματα. Ότι δεν μιλάγανε τα ελληνικά όπως οι άλλοι. Ναι, αυτή είναι αλήθεια.
Αυτό πρέπει να το πολεμήσουμε. Πρέπει να
πολεμήσετε αυτούς στην Ελλάδα που πάντοτε λένε γιατί δεν μιλάνε αυτοί όπως πρέπει. Δεν μας βοηθάνε. Δεν λένε, μπράβο. Αν είναι κάποιος ξένος που λέει μία λέξη, 2 λέξεις στα ελληνικά, λένε μπράβο, Αν κάποιος μιλάει στα ελληνικά και δεν τα μιλάει όπως πρέπει να είναι, γιατί δεν πήγε σχολείο ποτέ στην Ελλάδα, δεν πήγε στο πανεπιστήμιο, τότε λένε τι Έλληνας είναι αυτός.
Εσείς πάντως τα μιλάτε.
Κάνω λάθος.
Δεν έχετε δικαιολογία. Τα μιλάτε.
Δεν τα μιλάω.
Από εδώ και τώρα θα μιλάς μόνο ελληνικά.
Όχι, ξέρεις.
Έτσι είναι.
Λοιπόν, ευχαριστούμε Λου.
Χάρηκα.
Καλό βράδυ, Χρήστο, ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. Να είστε καλά. Και καλό καλοκαίρι, αν δεν βρεθούμε σύντομα. Γεια σας, καλό βράδυ.
Γεια σας.
Γεια σου.